Hi everyone, so I want to talk today about the truth about spiritual development and why we need to consider both the light, the dark, the human and the 5D side, the energetic and the grounded side of our spiritual development, and how my PEMS model can help you. So I'm going to start with a story. So it was 2018, my anxiety had skyrocketed, I was getting into alignment and I felt like my world was ending. I was literally floored by the universe. I can remember it was one day I was cooking dinner and I just couldn't come to terms with what was going on and how I could deal with this anxiety, which I now know wasn't anxiety, it was just energy I was picking up. And I started to awaken to there being more in this world than just the 3D, and that I could connect to other energies and I could connect to my intuition. And this was my first awareness of the quantum as well, that I could manifest and that I could, things didn't have to be linear in the way that always hadn't felt quite right to me anyway for things to be linear. So I went through this process of awakening through this process because my anxiety was showing me that I was picking up everyone's energy. So I started to explore this process further, and this led me on my spiritual development journey. And I didn't understand what was happening to me. So I was looking for answers. I was looking to connect with other people that had awakened. Like, can someone tell me what's going on? And I was looking deeply looking for answers, and I was looking for answers outside of myself. Now, this is not my fault. I didn't know this at the time, but I was so desperately looking for answers that I put all of my trust and guidance in these gurus, in these teachers to give me some answers. And to cut a long story short, what happened through that process is that because I awakened and then didn't know what to do with this connection that I had, I opened myself up to everything. So off I went looking for all these teachers and gurus and practices and things that I could learn, things that I could connect into that would help me understand my spiritual gifts. And I put all of the power outside of me. And this led to when I continued this journey, this led to in 2021, I reached a point in my spiritual development that because I'd been so open, because I had connected to anything and everything outside of me to try and get answers, I was then attacked energetically because I had done things that weren't necessarily of the highest good, because I was told they were for the highest good by some kind of teacher. I worked with teachers who unfortunately hadn't done their own shadow work, so they were passing on their own traumas, and were just welcoming, well, I can't say that word, welcoming in, just, all and sundry, come in, whoever wants to come in, whatever energies, come in and have a party in my head. And this left me being attacked energetically. Now, I'm not saying this to, if you're going through this process right now, I'm not saying this to create any fear. There's it's just having this awareness can help us. So this also led to why I left Facebook, because I then began to, on this journey, I started to learn that I needed to clear energy. So one of my purposes was to actually transmute energy, and I went on a journey of quite a few years with trying to protect myself. So firstly, trying to protect myself and failing at this epically, because whatever I did, that whatever the teacher told me to do, to put a bubble around myself, to put up a wall, to whatever, that put a mirror around me, whatever that thing I tried to do didn't work. And when I asked intuitively why this was, I was given the word transmute. So I am here, tune into obviously your own truth on this. We've all got our own, we'll all have our own kind of feelings on what we're meant to do with this energy. But for me, it was to transmute. So I was meant to feel it to allow it to come through me and for me to stay grounded to some extent. But because I had this purpose of transmutation and I'd gone in with the view of like, yeah, you know, whatever, come have this party, this is really fun, this awakening stuff, this left me open to being attacked, not only from having that like over openness, but also, as I say, working with teachers and gurus and people who hadn't done their own shadow work. And this is where the PEMS model comes in, which I will tell you about. So this is why I left Facebook, because I was attacked energetically on there. And this has led me on a journey, and I'm now back because I've been able to find the tool and have the training to clear the energy that was attacking me. So I've done loads of research, I've done loads of training, and I've developed really strong boundaries. And this has enabled me to come back and talk about this stuff because I'm ready. I've been through these lessons, been through this journey, and I'm ready to come back. So there's two kind of main points that we need to consider with our spiritual journey. So firstly, everything is energy. Everything is energy, and within that energy there is always polarity. So it's always going to be dark, there's always going to be light, and we need to view both of those things. We need to firstly view that everything is energy. So if we're feeling something in our body, it has manifested from an initial energy. So when we start to allow energies in that aren't for our highest good, they will start to cause pain in our body. And there is sometimes and I won't go too deeply into this, but you can ask me about this. There is a bit of a energetic exchange when we connect with certain beings that we feel are helping us or are healing us, or certain modalities that are healing us. There is a give and take with those. So on this basis that everything is energy, if we are connecting to source, if we are connecting to our higher selves, then yeah, there's some of the boundaries we can do. I can come on to boundaries in another video, but that's one of the things that we can do. And we need to consider the human side and the 3D side. So this was something that I had considered, but hadn't joined the dots. So my background is in psychology and positive psychology and the neuroscience around how to create more flourishing lives. And I had all of this background knowledge in positive psychology, all of these positive habits in my life. And what these were actually doing was they were giving me some incredible tools. So as I faced these highs and lows of the awakening process, I had these grounded roots in place to come back to. So, you know, yes, I did fail on that journey. I would say fail, but I learned from that. And that's how I can now help others to see what this awakening process is really about. And for me, because this was about feeling everything and being able to discern what I allow myself to feel, what I allow myself to go into, who I allow myself to work with, where I feel that energy and do something with it versus just clear that energy out. So that's enabled me to do that. And we need to consider this human side as well. So I had like all of these skills in positive psychology sort of over here, and I had my awakening over here. But it took me a few years to realise that the two were combined. So setting those grounded roots in place so that we've got that positive resilience to help us through that process. Also increasing our vibrational rate by being in those elevated emotions through the positive psychology as well. So we need to consider those two main things. Everything is energy, and considering that human side and that 3D side. What can I do to be the most grounded? And this even comes into what food we eat. Like, do we get enough sleep? What can I do on the grounded side to create that resilience for me? And this has come to life for one of my clients at the moment. We are in the process of working together for 3 months. And in the first month, we focused simply on her getting herself into alignment, getting the habits right, getting the habits in place. Anything that came up for her, doing shadow work on it. And then in month 2, we were able to really tap into what her gifts were and how she was using those gifts. And she has skyrocketed through this process because we got the basics right in place. She was doing shadow work right from the beginning. She was bringing positive psychology in right at the beginning, clearing her energy right from the beginning. And she is now doing incredible spiritual work already just in month 2. And this is because we got the basics right in month 1. And so many programs, techniques, teachers out there are not teaching these grounded practices, and not teaching positive psychology, and not practicing what they preach in terms of those processes. So she has like completely skyrocketed her spiritual growth, but in a really sustainable way. And I was able to shortcut that process for her because of what I've been through, because of the awarenesses that I've had to get those basics right, that connection to source, shadow work, positive psychology, that awareness around clearing energy. So if we are highly sensitive, this is even more important for us. This is not just a nice to have. This is an absolute essential. So if we are highly sensitive, we are picking up things all the time. So it's even more important for us to be grounding. It's even more important for us to have positive psychology practices in place in our lives, in our businesses. And it's really important to also find yourselves a coach. And this is also the awareness that I've had through this process, is anywhere that I disempowered myself has actually led me down quite a not so helpful path, shall we say. But anywhere where I was empowered, this started to really lead me into the right direction, connect me into my intuition, connect me into my empowerment. And coaching is something that helped me through this. So I also have my own coaching as a coach. And this is the way that I coach as well, because coaching is ultimately all about expanding consciousness. So you can think about, and this is proper coaching. So I am a purist coach, where I have the belief that everything you need is inside of you. I'm simply here to ask you the right questions, to hold space for you, to have your own reflections, to set your own actions. And that space holding is what builds that consciousness. So you can almost see it as, this is like the circle of consciousness, this little layer, sort of, you think of it as like a circle. And through coaching, we expand your thinking, we expand your consciousness. So you start to have new thoughts, you start to have new awarenesses drop in, you start to see your path ahead opening up to you. And this is the beauty of coaching. And this is the beauty of proper coaching, where you are seen as resourceful and whole. So we need to be clearing. We need to get the basics in place right. I can't talk today. And we need to, and coaching is a great way to do this. So clearing and coaching. And this is where I'm now starting to align the business to. These two channels, clearing and coaching, because we always need to clear. So rather than, and this has been a big awareness for me as well on my journey, is that we're not looking to connect with more things and get more answers and have more of these like really vivid, amazing spiritual experiences. Actually, the majority of this is clearing, because we're picking up stuff all the time that we need to clear out. And we need to, especially for working with others, we need to be a responsibility. We need to have responsibility for clearing ourselves out, so we are that clear channel to help others. Okay, so this brings me on to my PEMS model. So this just brings it all together for you, and this is the model that I use with my clients. And the P in PEMS model, so it's PEMS, which I know sounds like PMS, I know that. So the P in PEMS models is, I really can't talk today. P in PEMS model is positive psychology. So positive psychology is all about using the techniques of neuroscience to help us be our best selves, and bringing in this awareness from the positive psychology neuroscience can really help us to flourish. It can set those grounded roots in place. So just some tips for you here, thinking about what you can do throughout your day to bring in positive emotion is one way that you can tap into positive psychology. Sometimes I just ask myself, how am I choosing joy today? What do I need to do to choose joy today? What can I do to choose joy in this moment? Secondly, energy. So as I've said, everything is energy. So at the start of my journey, when I was feeling anxiety, a lot of that anxiety wasn't mine. It wasn't my anxiety. It was just energy that I was feeling and picking up from everyone else, and that I needed to either set some boundaries with, or transmute, or speak about and do something with that awareness. The third thing, mindfulness. So mindfulness has been the start of my journey and has led to me building awareness in all areas. So mindfulness can help us to tune in with our bodies every day. How am I feeling? What is it that my body needs right now? What are my physical needs? So it can link in with the positive psychology aspects around, how am I feeling right now? How can I move this emotion up on the scale? What is it that I need? And then finally, shadow work. So again, part of my failing, but I've had so many lessons from it, and I'm now able to come and share those lessons, is that unfortunately a lot of people in the spiritual community are not doing their own shadow work, and people are awakening and looking for answers. And these shadows exist on an energetic level. So if we are working with someone who has lots of shadows and trauma, then we will feel that will be passed on to us with the, and I won't go into this today, I'll do a separate video on this, but this also, they're entities, because trauma creates entities, it creates attachments, and these can come onto us as well, especially if we are highly sensitive, especially if this is our journey to feel energy. We're usually being shown energy so that we can do something with it, okay? So this is why clearing is really important. So not just clearing, but also speaking that out, like feeling those. So I'm on a bit of a rebellion with this at the moment. I'm feeling what's going on in the world, and I'm feeling like the sensitivity of everything. And then it's my responsibility to do something with that, whether that is have my own boundary, work on what I need to work on, speak my truth, or really stand up and be that leader and shift and start to shift the planet through my own truth, through those who choose to work with me, really starting that movement. So we want to be doing something with that. So shadow work is the last part of the PEMS model. And of course, because you've got the positive psychology and you've got the shadow work, this covers that whole polarity. It covers the light and the dark. So when we say like, what is spiritual development? It is the light and the dark, and we don't want to light wash over everything. There's a lot of light washing going on, a lot of denial of trauma and shadows. We want to be giving equal value to both of those. So giving yourself the time and space to work through your shadows, or find a coach who works with shadow work and takes you that level deeper than mindset coaching, because mindset coaching is not enough, because it does not consider the energy and the way that trauma and shadows are held in the body, okay? So find yourself a shadow work coach, and find yourself a coach that does positive psychology as well, because you want to be honouring both of these, both upping the joy and the positive emotion, and honouring these shadows, and having a process to balance and clear those shadows that you can tap into when you need to. So PEMS, positive psychology, energy, mindfulness, and shadow work. And this brings together at the whole how we can develop spiritually, how we can develop personally, and how we can move on our journey, especially when we are highly sensitive. So if anyone has any questions, just let me know. I'd love to hear from you.